Glad to have you with us here on Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. On today's show, we are going to take an inside look into our NFL Daily Show, where we answer a lot of mailbag questions in regards to your Baltimore Ravens, Lamar's MVP chances. Could OBJ retire? We'll also kind of look at how things stack up in the rest of the AFC playoff picture as well. You will not want to miss that in just a matter of moments. Before we do, got to shout out all the flock as you guys made it happen. You did it. We reached 14,000 subscribers. Thanks for making it happen here on Ravens Rundown. And as a reward to you, as promised, there will be a Ravens watch party coming up on Sunday night for Sunday Night Football when the Ravens take on the Jags. We'll get going about 30 minutes prior to kick. Myself, Smitty's going to be back here with me as well. We're going to celebrate having 14,000 subs and hopefully celebrate a Ravens win. We will see you then. Help us grow the channel. Subscribe now. Make sure your friends join us for that watch party on Sunday, and we'll get started with today's show. NFL Fan 69, nice, writes in, can Lamar Jackson win the MVP? Great question, NFL Fan 69. Here's the thing with Lamar and what we've seen so far from him in 2023. Lamar has played very well this year, but the statistics don't show him as a top MVP candidate. His stats aren't up there with the likes of Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Tyreek Hill and company. He's having a good year, a good bounce-back year. I love what he's done in this Todd Monken offense. I love that the Ravens have actually invested in Lamar Jackson, put weapons around him like Zay Flowers and OBJ. We've seen Isaiah Likely come along, even with the Mark Andrews injury and all that. The run game's been solid, even with J.K. Dobbins going down. All of that is good for Lamar, but it's not quite good enough to win MVP. Now, we still have a few games left. Things could change. He could go off over the next few weeks, but I don't think Lamar is going to be the MVP. If I were to guess right now what the MVP race is going to shake out, I think that you see Tyreek Hill get over 2,000 yards, and he walks away as the MVP. That is my prediction of how this plays out. Would love to see Lamar win it a second time, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Who should win the NFL MVP award? I want to know. Let us know in that comment section who you think ultimately should walk away with the prize. Give us a name that comes to mind that will win the MVP. Ric Flair's drip writes in, what does Odell Beckham's future look like after this year? So OBJ said a while back that this year was about proving himself that he could come back after that torn ACL, and then after 1 year, that was going to be good enough for him and that he would retire after this year. He's only on a 1-year contract with the Baltimore Ravens. But if you've been watching the way that OBJ has played over the last few weeks, he's just now starting to get into his own and look like the OBJ of old of sorts. It reminds me so much of the OBJ that we saw in the Rams Super Bowl run a couple years ago, where he really just took off in the second half of that season and was a huge asset for Matthew Stafford. Now the same can be said in this Baltimore Ravens situation, where maybe he's not the number one option, Zay Flowers is, but he is a very good number two. He's had a nice impact. He's filled the void left by Mark Andrews to an extent. I would be surprised to see OBJ just simply walk away from that. I think the Ravens would love to have him back. Granted, they got some pieces to pay. It's not going to be cheap with the money they've already given to Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson, but I'm sure the Ravens would love to have him back. There would be other teams I think would be interested in OBJ. I would be surprised if he retires. I think his best bet is that he's back in Baltimore next year. Will OBJ return to the Ravens next season? Type OBJ for yes. Type no BJ for no. Let us know in that comment section what you think happens with OBJ, if he's back in Baltimore next year or not. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed when you're talking tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions, and more. I got to tell you, I love Game Time. I've used Game Time a lot myself. Got to go see my Kansas Jayhawks play against Texas Tech in a little college football a while back. Got to go to a comedy show, saw my guy John Chris perform in Tulsa a while back as well, and got to save money with Game Time. You can save with Game Time as well. Here's how it works. It's real simple. Pick the event you want to go to, and then you get the seat. You get to see if you like that seat or not, get to zoom in, get that view and all that. And then within a matter of moments, you're checking out. Let's say you decide the very last minute, I don't want to deal with those scalpers. I want to do a safe and secure ticket option. That's what Game Time delivers. And you can get your tickets instantaneously within moments. It's very easy to use. And we're offering our viewers of today's show $20 off when you use the promo code NFL Chat. Simple as that. $20 off. Promo code NFL Chat. Start saving today. Game Time, proud partner of Chat Sports and NFL Daily. Get $20 off with the promo code NFL Chat. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Game Time. Terms and conditions do apply. Another question coming in. Will a backup QB win the Super Bowl this year? With so many backup quarterbacks starting right now, there's as good a chance as there's been in quite some time. But I'll still say no. It's very rare. I'm thinking historically, backup quarterbacks have won Super Bowls. Nick Foles, Jeff Hostetler, those were a couple guys that won Super Bowls. Trent Dilfer may as well have been a backup quarterback. No offense. But it's very rare when backup quarterbacks win Super Bowls. So then you translate and you start to think about this year of teams that are quality teams that have backup quarterbacks. The Bengals look really good with Jake Browning, but I don't think the Bengals are going to be winning the Super Bowl necessarily. That's a team that comes to mind. The Vikings, I know that they've been kind of a mess with Dobbs and a couple other options. They're not a Super Bowl threat, I don't think. I know that I'm probably missing a couple there, but I would be surprised. Ty Man the Buckeye chimes in, and his team, the Browns, they're going with a backup quarterback, Joe Flacco. We love Joe Flacco, even if he is playing for the Browns. What needs to happen for the Browns to be in the Super Bowl? We would need to see Joe Flacco continue to play on the level we saw last week. We need elite quarterback Joe Flacco to show up for this Cleveland Browns team for that to happen. Their defense is phenomenal. We know they have some offensive weapons like Amari Cooper and company. They're capable of playing at a high level. But basically, Joe Flacco would have to carry that team. And I don't know if old man Flacco at this point in his career, I highly doubt that he's going to be able to go in there and beat teams like Kansas City and Baltimore and Miami and others down the stretch here at this point. But it's not impossible. But think about this. The Browns, they're not going to be winning the division. It would be a long road ahead. I would say the chances are slim as far as the Browns go winning the Super Bowl. Jared writes in, if Tampa doesn't win the division, do they move on from Bowles in Mayfield? So the other day, I was actually having a discussion with my buddy TJ Reeves. He's the sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers radio network. And I was asking about Baker and this situation and all this. And from what he told me was that Todd Bowles is a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. That it was Todd Bowles specifically that wanted to bring Baker Mayfield to Tampa Bay. And we've seen Baker play at a very good level this year. 20 touchdowns, 8 picks. The offense has been very good, although at times inconsistent. The offensive line has some question marks there in Tampa. But here's the deal. If we're going to be frank with y'all, that division is so bad. If you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you don't win that division, then I think there's going to be some hell to pay. Todd Bowles, probably gone. Baker Mayfield, I think there is a slim situation, if you will, where Todd Bowles is gone, but Baker Mayfield is still there, potentially. Now, with all the quarterbacks that are available in this year's draft, maybe you have a situation where Baker is the starter, but they draft his replacement, something like that. But I would say the most likely outcome is what you mentioned, Jared, where if they miss the division title, then they just go ahead and clean everything up and move on from there. But Baker, he's played well enough. He's going to be a starter somewhere for somebody. He'll get a contract. Might not be in Tampa Bay if they don't win the division, though. Ed Robbins writes in, what do you think of the Bears taking Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first pick, and then Jalen Daniels with the sixth pick, the quarterback from LSU? You know, that could be an interesting idea. I'll say this. If the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, it's hard to imagine them not taking Caleb Williams, or anybody that has the number 1 pick for that matter, not taking Caleb Williams, because it's going to be too hard to just pass up if he's right there, a guy that is of his talent level, because at the end of the day, the number 1 need is quarterback in this league. And Caleb Williams, I know that there's some questions about his antics and how he handled losing and all that, but he's the best prospect we've seen at the position in a very, very long time. And so I think it'd be hard to say no to Caleb Williams if he's there at 1. Cameron writes in, do you think a 9-8 will be good enough to make the playoffs in the NFC, but not in the AFC? So I'm glad you asked. As far as the NFC goes, I think the NFC South champ probably has a losing record. So in the NFC, yes. The AFC, much more competitive. I think you have to have at least 10 wins. You might have one team squeak in on the back end for that final spot, the 7 seed with 9. But it's going to be very competitive. It's going to be very tight for those final spots, as you can see. Look in the AFC playoff picture right now. It would go into a lot of different tiebreakers and such, but the only way you can guarantee to get in is with those 10 wins as far as that goes, but we'll see how that goes. What team will finish with the best record in the NFL this season? Could it be Baltimore? Could it be San Francisco? Dallas? Philly? Who's it going to be? Get in that comment section. Let us know who you think the team with the best record will be in 2023.